Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this virtual Cabinet meeting. Before the meeting starts, can I ask that a roll call be taken of members and officers attending? Thank you, Jeanette. Jeanette. Microphone.
Thank you, Chairman. If you just bear with me.
We are live on YouTube.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll call members in alphabetical order.
Jeanette, you can close the YouTube screen down.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I do apologise for this. I'm trying to...
Jeanette, you can close down the YouTube screen now. You don't longer need it. So just close off that browser.
I'm trying to. Is that right, Jason?
It sounds like that's not repeating anymore, so that's good.
I'm so sorry about that.
Don't worry.
Right, Chairman. I'll take the roll call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll call Cabinet members in alphabetical order if you could please indicate your presence. Councillor Tracy Abbott.
Present.
Councillor Richard Austin.
Present.
Councillor Martin Griggs.
Present.
Councillor Jonathan Noble.
Present.
Councillor Paul Skinner.
Present.
Councillor Yvonne Stevens.
Present.
Councillor Nigel Welton.
I'm present.
Officers attending. Michelle Sachs, Monitoring Officer.
Present. Thank you, Jeanette.
Robert Barlow, Chief Executive.
Yes, I'm here, Jeanette.
Thank you. And myself, Jeanette Collier, Clerk for the meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to the preliminaries and part A. Have I the Cabinet's permission to sign the minutes of the meeting off of the Cabinet held 21st of October 2020? If you've got any comments, please use the raise hand facility. If there are no comments, I will assume you are all in agreement for me to sign the minutes.
Nobody's indicating, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Then I'll take that as agreement that the minutes are correct. Moving on to B, are there any apologies for this evening?
There are none, Chairman.
Thank you. Have any of the members a wish to declare any interest in respect to the items on the agenda, please?
Councillor Martin Griggs is indicating, Chairman.
Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the purpose of clarity, it is on my DPI list, but I'm employed by Boston College. However, I feel that as we're not making a decision on the future of our assets, I'm perfectly fine to take part in the debate this evening.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions from members of the public?
Yes, Chairman, there is one from Mr. Darren Abbott.
Thank you. I'll read it out. I am sure that you keep yourself up to date with what's happening within the Borough of Boston, so I therefore assume that you're aware that the crime figures in Boston Rural West in the year ended August 2020 and increased by 48%. There was the debacle of the police not wanting to enforce the council's injunction regarding the travellers' encampment on Woodville Park, and I understand you personally were assaulted 3 times in August and was unhappy with the police response. From what I have been told, at times there are as few as 1 officer covering Boston, with other officers having to travel from Sleaford and Skegness if a crime is committed. As the leader of the council, do you feel that Lincolnshire Police are adequately enforcing the law within the Borough of Boston? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Abbott, for your question. I, like you, am always disappointed when things aren't to the level of service we expect. The level of policing is set by the Chief Constable. It is the police that have to risk assess any ongoing situation from the operational point of view. They have a duty of care both to the public and to their own staff. When things do not go right, then we have ways to register it with 101 and 999. To register the incidents, complaints can further be made via professional standards. With regard to the increase in crime, I'm always disappointed when this spikes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Abbott has submitted a supplementary question. Should I read it out, Chairman?
Please do.
Mr. Abbott says, I thank the leader for his reply and I acknowledge his disappointment at organisations failed to meet their own expectations, not just those of their customers. You say dial 999 or 101. I attach a screenshot of the time taken to answer 1999 call that shows a response time of 28 minutes, 28 seconds. And I believe your personal experience was very similar and you were just as dissatisfied. But at least it shows that even the leader of a local council is treated with the same contempt as a lowly member of the public. I believe the council also has an obligation to protect the residents it serves, but you seem very reluctant to make a representation to Lincolnshire Police regarding the poor service of the residents of Boston are receiving. I therefore respectfully ask if you will take the relevant actions by calling to account the Chief Constable and the Police and Crime Commissioner, and if this fails, write to the Home Secretary requesting that the Home Office take over the running of Lincolnshire Police as they can no longer effectively police the county. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Abbott, for your question. The spending review that now has been suspended due to COVID pandemic was to level things up for both the councils and police forces alike. The police numbers have been given a boost by the government, so in theory there will soon be more on the streets. What this sometimes does mean, though, that whereas we've got a reasonable amount of specials at the moment, many of them then join up as regulars. This also, however, may lead to less neighbourhood policing with more regulars on the street, as the formula that has been set out is prescriptive, and any decrease in neighbourhood policing I would find a retrograde step. Our large rural county presents any chief constable with unique challenges. The balance of criminality versus rights is a complex one. Many citizens would say that in committing crime, the rights should be forfeit. However, the police and courts have to work within the lawful framework. And I'll also confirm that I have actually moved his complaint on to professional standards. Thank you for the question, Mr. Abbott. So moving on to part 2, we have a referral, which is only one item of business, and that is a matter that was called in by scrutiny members regarding PE 21, and I will invite Councillor Welton to introduce this. Thank you, Councillor Welton.
Thank you very much, Councillor Skinner. Excuse me. Good evening, members and officers. As you are fully aware, we made a decision at Cabinet on the 21st of October, and that decision was that we were minded to, in a nutshell, the decision was to allow one of our senior officers to have a conversation. And I'll refer to the actual decision later in the report. That was agreed by Cabinet. It was called into scrutiny by scrutiny members, which is their right to do. And I think that the debates that followed were very worthwhile and very positive going forward. I personally put on record that no decision would be made in regard to transferring any of these assets or any of this unless it had been a full council decision, and that this is only in a concept stage. And I'm sure once the concept stage turns into a project stage, then that will be a full report to Cabinet and to full council for a decision. The report was then referred to full council, where a debate ensued. And again, that reassurance by myself was put on record that no decision would be made to transfer that asset unless it was a full council decision. So based on that, that statement and the fact that we now have public records to say that that's the way this will go, and the fact that this is a concept stage and that a whole project would be put forward once a decision was made whether it would become a project stage from concept stage. So on that basis, I would like to move the original decision, which was which is on page 13 of an Appendix 1, and decision, which is the third paragraph, says that the Deputy Chief Executive Strategy be authorised to communicate with the Principal of Boston College that the Council is minded to enter into an agreement to lease and/or lease for the Jeff Mulder Centre in order to facilitate the development of the college's Mayflower Centre project. That is what I wish to move, Mr. Leader. I don't want to add anything else because all the guarantees and debate is now a public record through the minutes that are now attached to this agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No. I would just like to say, until we get a worked up actual case fully costed, then at that stage, then it can be submitted to council. Do you want to move this, Councillor Welton?
I believe I have formally moved it.
In that case, I'm quite happy to second it. So the proposal has been moved and seconded. So we'll move to the vote. Jeanette?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll call out members again in alphabetical order if they would respond whether they are for, against or wish to abstain. Councillor Abbott?
For.
Councillor Austin?
Councillor Austin?
Councillor Austin?
Unmute.
We are. For.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Griggs?
For.
Councillor Noble?
For.
Yourself, Chairman?
For.
Councillor Stevens?
For.
Councillor Welton?
For.
Thank you, Chairman. That's unanimously carried.
Thank you very much for that. This concludes the meeting, and I'll thank everybody for their attendance, and have a safe evening.
Good evening,
Thank you,
everyone.
Chairman.